Welcome to the Urban Cowgirl Show, training our horses and miniature cows in ranch versatility. Penning Rusty and Susie, our bull and heifer. Roping Rusty with Morgan horse, Semi. Training Eve to drive cart. Training Eve to work over her haunches with a motor cow simulator. Training Eve to lay down. Training Eve to harness, pull a log. Training Semi to harness, pull a log on turf. Jumping at liberty to music, making our Morgan horses our partners. Training Eve on a cow roping simulator. Training on our driveway, which is covered by sand, so we have a straight track. Stepping over poles, jumping over crossbar jumps. Training in our trail obstacles area. Semi on the big steps. Morgan horse Sadie doing obstacles rainlessly. Sadie learns to pull a cart. Miniature zebu heifer Susie learns to drive a cart. Bull Rusty learns to pull a harrow. Eve practices rating the simulated roping cows with many starts and stops to help her learn how to watch for speed changes.
Well, today we're riding Firecrest Easter Eve, and I'm Sonia Sokolow, the Urban Cowgirl. Rosie's going to start by helping me give Eve something to rate. It's the ATV Kids Roping Machine. It has attached to it the roping horns that can be used on the ATV and also on the electric bike, which goes faster, and we may or may not get to that today. And here's the reason. Eve is the most powerful of my Morgans, the biggest one, and I want her to be my rope horse someday. But she's still quite stressed by all of the clanking sounds of my simulated roping cows, my cow machines. So I'm trying to give her repetition so that she'll get soft and light in her mouth, so that I can use my roping reins with neck reining, so that I can use my body and my legs in the right position to get her hips over at the right time, to help her learn where she should put me, the roper, in reference to the cow, whether it be a simulated cow or a real cow, so that I have the best chance of swinging my loop and catching. I want to be able to catch my target, and I want a horse that will put me there to help me do it. Now, the plan today is this. The roping machine makes a lot of noise, and it's hard to communicate with the person who's riding the ATV and the person in the saddle. I'm afraid Eve is going to learn this faster than we do, but I'm going to blow this whistle once if I want Rosie to slow down, and twice if I want her to stop. We're going to see if that works. When we actually use the electric bike, which goes much faster and it also clanks, it does have a mirror. So we're going to see if we can use hand signals. But that's kind of hard for a roper who has reins in one end and a rope in the other. So we may have to resort to this kind of training aid at first until Eve, or whoever I'm riding, learns how to rate a moving object. So I am going to concentrate very much on keeping Eve light. That is the main concern. I'm going to use our usual cues of whoa by putting our legs forward, sitting on our pockets, giving her a little, look at that, a little bit of rein cue to, yes, give me that vertical flexion, and at the same time, the backup. So every single time I stop, as a matter of fact, Rosie, at first we're not even going to use the whistle. I'm going to ask you, let's say, to go, let's say, where, up to that, where that jump crossbars is,
okay,
and stop. And I'm not going to take off right away. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for you to get a little bit ahead, which is the way it is when you're roping out of a chute. The cow comes out, the horse is to wait until the rider gives the cue. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to keep Eve off to the left. I don't have my rope in my hand because I'm sure at first especially I'm going to have to use both reins. Whoa, whoa, back. Good. Here we go. I've got the whistle, but Rosie has her instructions. Whoa. Better than I expected. She was light. She listened. So now we're going to go down the driveway. Rosie's going to make a U-turn. Now, I didn't blow the whistle because she's being stressed. I blow the whistle because she's not in the right position. So I'm stopping, giving her the cues I need to get her in the right position. Right now, if I tried to rope from Eve, her head would be in the way. I need to get, now between the front cinch and the back cinch is where what I'm going to use to get her hips over. I'm trying to do it with one hand. I'm not applying regular pressure. I'm just bumping with my leg. She understood. She understood. Now this is the position that I need for her to be in so that I could throw this loop and catch those horns. And I have to get her to understand that because I can't be doing a lot of positioning if I'm trying to throw my loop or swing my loop and then throw it. So now we're going to go to plan B. You're going to go around unless I double whistle, and I'm going to try to keep her in position. If I feel she's getting out of position again, rather than pushing her over or dragging her head over, I'm just going to stop us and explain it to her like I just did. Now we're going to wait. Eve and I are going to wait until Rosie takes off. Good. I'm sitting deep on my pockets.
As we proceeded down the driveway, I would stop Eve, back her up, wait until she gets soft and light, and then ask Rosie to move on. With more and more practice, Eve got lighter and softer and better understood what her job was to rate this moving object.
That was pretty good. And I like to stop on a good note, at least with this training tool. Next time, I'm going to actually have the rope in my hand, after we've done this a few more times, to get her to understand what the pattern is. And I'm going to try to rope the roping machine while it's standing still. And then maybe try to rope it while it's moving off. And then rope it eventually on the run. Now we'll be going to the north-south track and we'll use the electric bike roping machine. Here we are in the north-south track. Rosie's just gone up and back with the bike. We do have a mower working behind us, but that's okay. I want Eve to be able to focus on my requests, even though there are some distractions around us. So, again, we're going to stop and start many times at first. So, Rosie, I'm going to let you choose your pattern, but let's say don't go more than about 15 feet before you stop again, okay?
Okay.
And we're just going to watch you stop. To start and stop the camera again a couple times because we have some sprinklers that automatically go on, but that's okay. We're out of sprinkler reach, and we're about to do what is the exercise for today. About 10 or 15 feet of moving, then stopping, and then I am going to be asking Eve to be light and to back from me in a straight path, maybe 3, 4, or 5 steps, and then we're going to go again. We're going to go up and back and see how it goes, and you'll see too because we're showing you. Okay, Rosie. Whoop. Good. I let her pick up that jog. That was okay. Now when I get out of camera's mic distance, you're just going to be able to watch, but then when I come back I'll explain what I was doing. Let me walk up to you again, Rosie. That was good. She was light. Whoa. Okay, time to go.
noticed that Eve began to get more stressed and she was throwing her head and not focusing on my requests. So I asked Rosie to wait longer and slow down, and I walked around her a few times and got Eve's focus back, and then proceeded to continue with the training.
Back. Okay, another 10 feet. Very nice. Whoa. Back. Good. Let's wait for 10 seconds. If she does it just as well, going towards the camera another 10 feet, that'll be all we'll do today. Woo. I'm going to back her up a little bit more, Rosie. Yourself, that was good. I allowed her. Whoa. Perfect. Stop. Ever so slight a touch. Now let's see if I can keep that hip in the right position. Over there on the way back by the trailer, she was pushing her hip to the right. I wanted to keep it to the left. And in the process of trying to give her those leg cues, she got upset, started throwing her head. Definite misunderstanding. Whoop. I'm going to ask her to back. I look over her head. Now I'm giving her a leg cue to get those hips over. Good. Whoop. I want her to go over ever so slightly with her front end and her back end. So I'm going to ask her to side pass. Whoop. You see why you need to be able to have those fundamentals. Another 10 feet, Rosie, and that's it. Whoa. Good, Eve. Back. In spite of the people on the other side of the bush, in spite of the mower coming at us, she listened. And she's learning how to rate a moving object. Whoop. Let's let that mower turn. She has to learn to stand. If she starts dancing around, then I turn her in a small railroad track circle and then ask her to keep her feet still again. If she gives me lateral flexion and I don't want it, I give her visual block rather than pulling her head over. And she usually straightens out. You got to know your horsenality. That's all for today. Sonia Sokolow, not only the urban cowgirl, but maybe also I call myself the vanishing cowgirl. Here's our next roping session. It's a desensitization session for Eve. Eve doesn't even have a saddle on. What we're doing today is we're just giving her an opportunity to watch me try to rope this set of roping horns that normally is being pulled by some kind of mechanical equipment like my ATV or my electric bike. Today we just have one of my helpers, Ryan, pulling it very slowly with the handle that we have attached to it. So what we're going to do is, this is a four-man operation because I also have a cameraman. We're just going to do it for a few minutes. We're going to be, we're going to be swinging the rope, and this is my ranch rope. A lot of coils, but nice and soft. We're going to be swinging the rope. I'm going to ask Ryan to walk forward, and Rosie's going to walk with me, and we're going to just try to get Eve to accept it. Good. As soon as I have caught a horn, or at least have thrown my loop, if you stop, I'll remove the loop, and we're going to stop the camera for a minute and reposition again and do it. Was she okay, Rosie?
Yeah.
She was fine. Okay, I was concentrating on swinging my loop. Okay, we're going to try it again. I'm making a bigger loop here because the horns are pretty far apart. I'm going to walk towards the roping horns. Rosie's going to keep even position, which should be off to the left. We're going to try to keep Eve's body straight. And then this time I'm going to let Ryan walk out a little bit before I approach. because that's usually what happens when you're roping a moving object. All right, Ryan, let's go. Good. That was perfect. And that was a two-horn catch this time. And I walked towards it. This time I got to see Eve. She was behaving just fine. You agree, Rosie?
I would agree.
Okay. She's riding. She's got the rope in her hand. She's twirling it. She's taking Eve up and down the north-south track at a trot. And Rosie knows enough about roping as to how to twirl it, etc. However, we don't like the way Eve, watch Eve's head. We don't like that. We need to work on getting that head, good Rosie, let's do it one more time. Need to work on getting that head down without using a tie down. That's what ropers usually do, is they put a tie down on their heads. Remember, you're having to neck rein, and because you've got the coils in your hand, you're having to neck rein, and you're trying to get your horse to go straight, and there's a lot of steering to be done. And it sure does help if your horse is collected and vertically flexed. So, not sure yet what our next step will be. We do things one small step at a time here, but maybe just more and more repetition, even without the roping horns in front of her, because that's yet another item for agitation. Okay, good, good. Now watch how Rosie can control Eve and calm her down. But up comes her head, and it's helpful to be able to two-rein and bump them down, but you can't do that if you've got a rope in your hand. So, here she comes again. Yeah, oh good, yes. A moment, no, then it goes up again.
Part of the problem is she's got such a powerful fast trot that I think is not what we want for this exercise. And she's not responsive to my other aids to slow down, like my seat. So I try to bump her a little bit.
Okay, Rosie doesn't have a mic on, but we're going to interview in a moment. She's kind of trying to diagnose the problem here. And, you know, it really is because Eve isn't ready to be collected. She has a powerful trot, doesn't quite understand body language, neck reining and so forth. Rosie's going to... The rope doesn't seem to bother her, watch. Yeah, it's not the rope. She's desensitized to that lariat, but she's not sensitive yet to the body language, the leg controls, and the hand controls that we need when we're neck reining at a trot, much less at a canter. Now, let's see what Rosie has to say. Rosie knows Eve very well. We're going to get close to her and listen to her diagnosis. And Rosie, what do you think we can do next?
Well, I think she just needs more practice neck reining, and just needs to be ridden more in general, because she's just coming back into training after a fairly significant convalescent period, which is certainly no fault of her own. And so part of it is we haven't been working very much just on collection in general, and so at a walk she's still pretty good, but at a trot she gets excited, she gets fast, and she's not as responsive as she used to be to like leg aids and seat aids to keep her trot nice and steady. And so, especially with neck reining, you try to maybe do a little bumping at the mouth to try to remind her to keep her speed low. But that sort of thing just, gets her all distraught, which is part of the reason she puts her head in the air. So I think she just needs more practice in general with being collected and moving all of her body parts, particularly using neck reining. So I think that's just what we should work on a lot before we try this again. Because you can see that the roping isn't bad. She doesn't mind if I throw the rope. It doesn't bother her. That's not what's making her distressed at all. And not that she's particularly distressed at the moment. As you can see, it's the activity itself doesn't cause her any great excitement. It's the neck reining. Where do you think you're going?
And the trotting out.
And the trotting out, especially on the long driveway as opposed to in the arena.
And yes, where you don't have a fence and where you're asking for straightness. Now, just for those who haven't been following Eve, she has her Cavallo boots on. And the reason is with some socks that I make to keep in the boots during the day so that her feet don't get wet. She had some problems with her hooves and stretch lamina when she had what we diagnosed to be equine metabolic syndrome. And that was months ago. We're giving her plenty of time to grow out a full new hoof. And so when we ride her at any speed, and as a matter of fact, when she's out in the pasture, even where her feet will get wet, because we have irrigated pasture, we always put her Cavallos on. Okay, that was the next step to getting Eve ready as a rope horse. Thank you again, Rosie, and Firecrest, Easter Eve.
The training plan will be to work on gaining collection with Eve as she travels down the north-south track, which has a couple inches extra sand down the middle, at various speeds. We will use neck reining and ask for frequent transitions eventually while we carry and swing the lariat. Our cast of characters: Sadie and Eve, Sammy, Demi, and Lotus, Rusty and Susie. www.thesocolos.com